Hello, thanks for tuning into the podcast. My name is Zach, half of Everyday Data, and today we are delving into a topic that's a bit forward looking, which is what do I need to know about AI for 2026? Or what is the future of AI and how it relates to work? So, this podcast and this discussion is for you if you are a soon to be graduating college senior or junior or someone looking to just brush up on their skills and learn about the AI landscape and how it relates to our working lives. So, what this is an adaptation of a lecture that I gave to a senior class at a local college here in the New York region. So, while this is tailored sort of specifically to college students, it is applicable to the wider audience of anyone that has been AI curious and wants to get caught up to speed on what this means for me as a worker, someone that is in a knowledge based job or a not knowledge based jobs, and how AI relates to any job you're in, and what is that look like in 2026. So, yes, this is just a solo episode with me today, this week, because Patricia is off on vacation for the holiday. So, bye, Patricia. Enjoy your holidays. We'll see you back whenever you return, I guess, in 2026. And yes, that is my segue into what do I need to know about AI in 2026? Well, I'm going to break it down for you as a general overview because this is everyday data and not just covering pop culture topics, which of course I love, Patricia I loves, we all love, but also how AI and data relate to our everyday lives, and specifically in this case, our working lives. So let's jump into it, and I will go through some of my notes and slides. Are you using AI today? That was my main question. And I feel like at the end of 2025, most of us are tangentially in some way, whether we know it or not. AI is increasingly creeping into our everyday task. And that is sort of setting the stage for where we are at this date, December 2025. Where ChatGPT has been out for a couple of years, but not just ChatGPT. There are a host of competitors. The landscape is so crowded. Everything has an AI buzz. You've probably heard it. You cannot ignore it. AI dominates the news because of the driving for the stock market, this possible AI bubble we're in with companies like NVIDIA powering the AI movement, data centers getting built out, and then AI getting integrated to all of our major tech products from ChatGPT, web based chats, but then integrated into our work products like Microsoft Word. Copilot is being integrated into our productivity apps in the office. Google has just rolled out the latest release of Gemini, which is being integrated into your web search. So now instead of getting top results, you're getting AI summarized and assisted results. And it's only going to continue from everywhere, every aspect of life. So you need to stay on top of AI and the trends. But before we get into that, even, how about we just do a quick 60-second history of how we got here. So, just to kind of give a landscape of the lay of the lands, the 1950s to 1980s was early AI. So, AI has been around in one form or another since ages ago when it was called machine learning and then later deep learning. So, the early AI in quotes was this machine learning when machines, aka computers, started becoming more powerful, and computer scientists started applying algorithms, which is just a set of instructions to sort through large data sets using defined parameters, aka an algorithm, a set of instructions to analyze data and then discover insights. But even though we had this hype, we had a bit of what they call the AI winter when all this hype and enthusiasm for AI didn't produce the results that they were talking about even back in the 1950s up through the 1980s. So while there was a lot of promise for new techniques and new discoveries in the field of machine learning and data science, it didn't lead to any tangible products that improved our everyday lives. Anyone that grew up in the 80s or even now, nothing actually came of that, of the same level of ChatGPT. But in the 2010s, we did have some breakthroughs with the switch to deep learning. So what that was instead of doing a wide data set where a aka a computer algorithm would sort through a bunch of, let's say, images and index images and say, this image that I'm seeing right now, does it look like the image that I'm searching for? And doing sort of pattern recognition. Image recognition was one of these early areas. And what the advent of deep learning was basically building a feature set of an image. So instead of doing one-to-one matching that, yes, is this image the same as this image, by breaking down the image into its component parts and saying, I'm looking for a cat. So what does an image of a cat entail? It's a circle face, it's two ears, it's whiskers, a mouth, and then searching for its data set based on those parameters of like features. So this, instead of going wide, going deep on the features that it's looking for, was the advent of deep learning in a super simplified nutshell. And that led to really breakthroughs in these image recognition competitions, speech translations, speech recognition. But then the biggest breakthrough, as we all know, because we're living in 2025, came in 2017 when the advent of transformer architecture. This is the foundational kind of idea of deep learning and machine learning that led to GPTs, a generative pre-trained transformer. And it served as that foundation for all of our large language models, which is what we commonly think of as AI nowadays. It's all based on this transformer architecture where instead of it does predict, instead of searching and generating text, it's creating relationships between words and ideas. And this data training set, which you've probably heard the buzz that, these AI models, they're trained on large data sets, and it's assigning a numerical value to the relationship, like the 3D, imagine a 3D space relationship between words and ideas, and then the distance between those in this kind of complex, I'm super oversimplifying it, but in this complex 3D space. And then that is what creates a kind of neural network relationship between words and ideas that allows the ChatGPT, these large language models, to mimic human speech. And that was, led us to our current area of 2022 into 2025 when these ChatGPT styles tools are going mainstream. So now that we've kind of caught up with all of the research of large language models, data science, machine learning, deep learning, where are we right now, end of 2025? And if you're watching this in 2026, early 2026. So where we are right now is in a veritable arms race between the leading AI research labs, which are our OpenAI, Google, Anthropic, Meta, and of course the competition from overseas labs like the Chinese models that are all racing to release the latest and greatest frontier model that'll perform the best on benchmarks and eventually become the dominant language model that's used by most companies. So what's the difference of these frontier models versus other models, and why are there so many models? It's, again, as we mentioned, the training data. So what the large language model, which is this model, aka like an algorithm, a process, what is it trained on as a data set? And if you've been following the news, this is why stocks like Reddit are becoming so important, because Reddit is one of my favorite websites, but it is basically just a discussion forum where users from across the web, across the world, gather to just discuss anything from comics to movies to politics to AI to coding. There's a subreddit for any topic. And in this, yes, people are posting conversations. So what is that? That is human speech in a digital form in text. One of the huge advantages that a site like Reddit has, it is a treasure trove of data of human speech patterns, how real people talk. And this data set is invaluable to these companies that are training large language models. And that is also why certain companies are emerging ahead. Because what we found, at least as of this recording, that the best way to improve your language model is to just give it more examples, give it more data in its training set. So as the training data becomes larger, as we kind of increase the data set size, the model gets better at speech because it has more examples that it was trained on. The downside to this is there's only a limited number of textbooks out there, and these early models, they consumed the publicly available data sets. So what competitive advantage does a company like Google, whose motto is to index all of the world's information, it has a information and data advantage. So the companies that have access to large existing data sets, Meta, because they own Facebook, they have all conversations ever written on Facebook. Google, which has indexed every single website, which at one point was written by humans, but now is increasingly being written by AI. And then other companies like OpenAI and Anthropic, which are licensing data from sources like newspapers, New York Times, Reddit, any source that has human generated content, in addition to spaces like books and other sources of human language. That's what they're racing for, to build these data centers that power the models that train on these enormously large data sets to create a better version of ChatGPT, or in our case, also Gemini or Claude. And that is where we are right now, is kind of an arms race. Just this past week, OpenAI had a code red because Google's latest model of Gemini is now outperforming ChatGPT. There's word that ChatGPT will be releasing a new model. So it is kind of this neck and neck race to who is going to release the best version of a chatbot that will just basically run ahead of the other models, because they have such a large gap between a startup. There's no way a startup could gather that much data that quickly and train the model with all the infrastructure needed. That is the GPUs for NVIDIA, the data centers that are, you've seen the news being built out. So with all this sunk cost and investment, these couple firms that are training the frontier models are just so far ahead in investment and progress that it'll be hard to catch up. But there is, as I mentioned, competition from open source models like the Chinese labs, which introduced DeepSeek, which had some novel ideas of how training could be shortened and still produce similar results. So there is opportunity for startups to find innovative new ways, and also, if you've been reading the news, other uses. So there is also a need for on-device AI. So if you think like Siri, your phone, how there is an AI assistant inside your phone, that model can kind of access the data two ways. It can either go to the internet and call home, access the data center, get the data from the model, and return the results. Or it can maybe be a lightweight model that lives on your phone, that's trained on maybe a specific function, like just a text or just, taking notes, and then it can call the model on the phone. So again, much quicker response time, processing time, and live on device. So that's another opportunity that I've seen emerge, is smaller, lightweight models that may live on the device that is using them, to allow just faster processing, faster translation, but then again, trained specifically for one use, as opposed to a ChatGPT, which can do math, it can do science, it can write essays, it can do so many things because it's just all in one model. So then what is next? So if that's where we are, and I'm looking at this with 2026 on the horizon, or 2026 is already here, what's going to happen? What is going to continue for the next 6 to 12 months? Where will I be midway through 26 and into 27? I think this arms race is just going to continue. That is what we've seen in the past couple months, is really heating up. And we can really expect that continue, with GPT 5.1 out now, 5.2 possibly coming next week as of this recording, and it'll just only be increasing. Gemini 3 came out now. It'll be incrementally updated. Anthropic's Claude Opus just came out. That'll be continually updated. So that trend is going to continue, and the AI will continue to get embedded and used in our everyday. So the other side of this investment is all these companies are also trying to cut deals to use their model and not a competing model in whatever task the private company or public company is doing. So if you want a chatbot for your company's customer service, which model are you going to choose? Are you going to choose Google's, OpenAI's, Anthropic's, Meta's? There's only a few choices that are going to make sense, quote unquote, from a corporate standpoint, from an investment standpoint. Your company is going to want the best at the cheapest cost to service the most users and not have any PR nightmares like the news of the teddy bear that was AI enabled and was giving illicit advice to the kids that are using this stuffed teddy bear. So you do, from a corporate standpoint, you're going to want one that has guardrails intact, that is from a trusted source. You're going to be looking for these couple frontier models, and that is going to continue as these startups are looking to turn a profit. So there will be increased integration into lots of websites. The features will also continue to grow. So one thing we've recently seen that will continue is the release of Nano Banana, which is the latest image generation model from Google. It blows what Sora, which is OpenAI's model, out of the water. It's just much more realistic from my perspective. Everything I've seen just doesn't have that AI look. It looks like it could have been taken with a cell phone if that's what you train on. So I do think of course, these companies are going to continue to increase their capabilities as well. We have yet to see a full response from OpenAI, but I'm sure they have a image generation model in the works that probably isn't released because it isn't fine-tuned enough yet, but they will release their version. So we'll continue to also increase capacity of these models so they will be able to do new things. We've also talked about on this show agents. So I think AI agents will become a big deal in 2026 because as the feature set grows, their viability grows. So as the AI gets quote unquote smarter, we will be able to do more things with agents and handle more tasks. We've already seen in 2025 the launch of AI enabled browsers. And I think that will continue, that we'll have AI-enabled browsers that allow us to get more done independently. But there's also the competition, and competition brings regulations. Just as of this recording today, there was a note from the administration that they are looking to strike down the state-level AI regulation. So that is definitely going to continue, and it was the point I was talking about here, but it's kind of breaking news because as today's Monday, December 8th, and there's talk of defeating the state level AI regulation. So that is something that is definitely 100% going to happen in 2026, that AI regulation will be a hot topic. So even now, using where I live at New York City as an example, there is local AI regulation, such as the need for AI in hiring disclosure. So employers that are using an automated employment decision tool, aka resume screening, they have to disclose that in New York. So they have to say, at least on their website, not necessarily on the job application, but the companies that do AI automated resume, they have to at least disclose it, which at this point is almost everyone. There is this act called the Loading Act, which is the Generative AI in State Government Act, where state agencies in New York must track and evaluate the use of generative AI, publish assessments, and protect state workers from being replaced or having hours reduced. So again, this is sort of an AI protection, at least a framework for that, to at least look at it and disclose to the public the use of generative AI. And then also in the news, besides this AI regulation, there is a couple weeks ago a note of an AI super PAC, which was that a $10 million campaign launched on, it was late November, which was pushing Congress to craft the national AI policy. And what do you know? This was launched on November 24th was when this AI super PAC was announced with a $10 million push. And here we are, December 8th. So 2 weeks later, surprise, surprise, the government is now looking into AI regulation. So the super PAC works. So we will probably continue to see more push for AI regulation. And since it's being funded by these tech giants to deregulate, unfortunately, I see the deregulation kind of continuing, as well as things like AI protections of selling AI chips to overseas competitors will probably be deregulated, as we see that the current administration is opening the floodgates to sell these to our competitors. So what's next, even now, 2 years, as we start looking at career planning, or, okay, that's great to know, Zach, for 6 months to 12 months, but what about long-term? What can I kind of prepare for this slow gradual? I know it's inevitable, but as we start moving out, looking out maybe 27, 28, I think the winners will start to emerge. So this next year, my prediction is a lot of competition, but then these startups. So we talked about the frontier models, but there are so many AI startups. If you follow Y Combinator or any of these venture capital firms, everything has an AI angle to it. There's so many AI startups, but they can't all survive. I feel that, which we've seen demonstrated by things like OpenAI, there were these complexity browser. It was this great idea for an AI assisted browser, which was novel at the time. Everyone loves the idea of an AI assisted, AI powered browser. But then OpenAI releases their own AI powered browser. And so then what's the point of the startup? So I think a lot of these startups that were niche use cases or just a wrapper around the OpenAI API, which allows you to programmatically access OpenAI. So unless they have a defensible strategy, a defensible moat in their venture capital startup idea, I think a lot of these frontier companies like OpenAI, Gemini, Claude, or Anthropic will start just developing new features that consolidate the AI marketplace. As we look out, again, this is about 1 to 2 years out. The winners will start to emerge soon because, again, I feel a lot of competition in the short term. And then in the medium term, they are like the 1 to 2 years that we're going to start to see these winners emerge. And this AI bubble is not necessarily going to pop. It could almost kind of go both ways. I'm not really sure there is a bubble because there is a lot of demand for AI on the corporate side, but again, the argument for the bubble is there enough demand to sustain, and is there actual quantifiable results that'll have an economic impact, or is this going to turn into everything just being chatbots and that's it? Well, the one analysis that I liked that I looked at this was Michael Burry of The Big Short in his new newsletter. It was like a couple $100 Substack, but he equated NVIDIA to Cisco in the last internet boom. So if you're an old timer like myself who was in college during the AI boom, not AI boom, the web boom, web 1.0 .com bubble, then the equation holds for AI is Michael Burry's argument. So back then, Cisco was, again, a provider of network infrastructure. And during those early days of the .com bubble, everyone was building out capacity because there was such demand for high-speed internet, for the internet in general. The internet was new, if you can imagine that. Back in the day, yes, internet was a novelty. We didn't have the internet at a certain time. When I first grew up, it was dial-up modems. But now we had high-speed internet and the demand was there. So companies invested in Cisco because, similar to the old-time analogy of during a gold rush, you make the most money selling shovels, Cisco was the network hardware. So that, of course, parallels similar to NVIDIA, which NVIDIA is selling the shovels, the pickaxes, the hardware in the AI race. But what was the investment play in Cisco was there was not unbridled demand. So while everyone, yes, had a large appetite for the internet, at a certain point, everyone has the internet. So once it reaches capacity, there is no demand. So it's not unlimited demand. And this is what we've seen in most tech startups like Meta, for example. Once Facebook grew and grew and grew, and yes, it is a stellar success story of a growth company, but at a certain point, everybody has Facebook. Once everybody's on Facebook, how else do you grow? Very similar to NVIDIA. So once all the frontier models are trained, and yes, they will continue to need training, but as the leaders emerge, that there are only a couple of frontier companies, the OpenAI, again, my list, the OpenAI, Google, Meta, Anthropic, once these frontier models emerge, there will reach a kind of limit for demand. There's only so much AI we're going to need. That yes, we'll need to get continual updates. I'm sure they'll keep pushing new AI models, but there's only so much demand for AI. Once every company has an AI, once every phone has an AI installed, how much more demand do you need? Again, this could be we find new use cases. This is always the optimistic lookout, but there is also the opportunity, which is Michael Burry's idea that it doesn't have unbridled demand for AI. And where else are we going to? In that same note, as we reach kind of capacity, AI just becomes a standard utility in many roles. So while right now, 2025, 2026, AI is a new way of working that we're learning to use AI in our workflows, just like the internet, just like the calculator. Eventually, it became commonplace to use a calculator instead of doing math by hand when doing your accounting. Just like doing research used to involve going to the library, now we just Google it. That's just like now when we do code, we don't write code by hand anymore because it is just simple building blocks. A lot of time, yes, you need to architecture your code. I'm not talking bad about developers. I understand the pain, but there is a lot of reusable components, and we know the patterns as programmers. But if you can outsource these menial tasks of writing the generic code blocks, the unit tests. So as we become ingrained with AI in our workflows, it's going to become commonplace. We all are going to use AI to correct our spelling, to ask questions. Just like when we Google something, we're going to AI, LLM, chat GPT something. So it's going to become more commonplace as the years go on. I feel my prediction is this becomes a general utility. And what this does, of course, for jobs and where we're going with this conversation is yes, that does have an impact on jobs. So these entry level roles that involved a lot of that early heavy lifting. So using maybe like a programming example, lower level, okay, entry level, not lower level, but just entry level programmers do a lot of those menial tasks, writing the basic like skeleton of the code, doing the generic testing. But when that gets handled by AI, what does that mean for the entry level market? So I do see in the near slash medium term a change of how entry level roles work, that they're going to require more knowledge for the entry level because again, everyone is kind of leveling up with AI and so much is going to get done by an AI to start with. So I think the baseline level of knowledge for an entry level worker is going to keep raising. But at the same time, when you kind of, we'll switch now, but look in the long term, people will start using AI earlier and earlier. So those of us just entering the workforce now are kind of in that rough transition phase where we didn't grow up with AI per se. AI is too new for that. So we're learning to work with AI. Children nowadays are going to grow up with AI as an everyday, just like right now in 2026, kids these days don't know how to type because they've only ever had touchscreen. They grew up on iPads. So they're not used to working with a desktop PC. Whereas people from my generation, we grew up on only on terminals. We didn't even have, graphical user interfaces. This was pre Windows 95. This is Windows 3.1. This is DOS. So those of us who grew up in different eras, I think the coming generations are going to be AI native. Just like right now, we call a lot of people or millennials or zennials or Gen Z are social media natives. They grew up on social media. The next couple generations will be AI native. So the skill set level, when you've started at a young age, knowing basic tasks and knowing how to work with AI will just continue to increase. These near medium term, the 1 to 2 years out, it's going to be rough for entry level, and everyone is going to need to continue to skill up. So that is where we're going in 5 years. The baseline level, I'm looking ahead now, will continue to kind of raise because AI is going to raise the floor. So there'll be a higher starting level. And what does that AI even look like? This is where it gets kind of murky, that it could just be in 5 years, just better and better AI models. This could just be ChatGPT 7, 8, 9, 10 by that point. Or we could get AGI, which is the idea where AI is better than a human, or it could stay at kind of the level, but just slightly better than it is now. So that's really kind of a toss up. I'm sort of like 50-50 maybe on, do we get artificial general intelligence, AI that's better than a human can be? Or is it just continually being kind of that co-pilot, work partner, entry-level employee, but they're actually an AI now? So most jobs, with that said, will change in content rather than disappear entirely. So not to be all doom and gloom, this means jobs will change their nature because the AI in 5 years will probably be doing a lot of that heavy lifting. It allows people to be more strategic. And this also necessitates the need for foundational knowledge. And this is where I'm also again kind of giving you tools and things to think about. So if AI is doing the menial tasks, what value would you provide as the human in the loop? And my current answer in 2025, 2026 is providing that higher level architecture and knowledge of the entire process, because we've probably all seen AI not understand our intentions, because only we will know the business context. We will know the entire industry from a different angle than just what's fed into the AI. until AI, yes, is plugged into all the disparate data sources that we use in our business, because there's so many also non-digital sources. So until AI knows all of your customers, all of your suppliers, all of the people on your team, it maybe can't make those connections without your help being the human in the loop. So your value add is going to be that contextual knowledge. It's also going to be the foundational knowledge. So while AI may suggest something, only you as an expert, either a subject matter expert in that domain and also that understands different techniques. So you may be like an engineering expert that you know that there is one way to do this, but because you know how mechanical engineering works, in this specific use case, you need to think outside the box and not default to what AI would suggest is kind of the top Google result. So this is, if you equate AI search to Googling, sometimes the answer isn't the first result. And when AI is going to give you that first result, but you as the human in the loop will understand that you need to sometimes go deeper because you know context. So this is where, back to the topic, in 5 years, we're going to be needing to be subject matter experts and also foundational knowledge experts. So if that requires a deeper understanding of your domain, of your discipline, and when to apply certain techniques so that you can pass off those techniques to the AI in 5 years, because we'll have in 5 years in ChatGPT 10 that'll be able to do it faster and better than you could, but only you can direct the AI to do the right thing. So then, where are we right now? So bringing that's a bit doom and gloom, and talking about now in 2025, 2026, entry-level jobs in AI, it's rapidly decreasing. So all the numbers that I saw were, early career roles with 0 to 5 years of experience shrinking by 7 to 8%. Research described many junior tasks as intellectually mundane, especially which is exactly the kind of work that LLMs automate. So, like myself, or maybe you listen to this, if you've gone through those entry level roles, you know those roles were to kind of learn the ropes of an industry. They were your entry point to take on these tasks. And those are exactly the kind of tasks that LLMs are great at, is doing these routine tasks. So they will take away that work, but they're not going to take away that business context. So what kind of jobs are most at risk? What are kind of the actionable things? So if I bring this back to who this is for, if you are a soon to be graduating this year in 26, or you're looking to make a career change in 2026, how is AI going to affect my job now in 2025, 2026? What should I be doing? How should I be thinking about AI and the job market in 2026? So as you mentioned, these highly repeatable tasks are the most likely to be replaced. And it's also conversely at this kind of inflection point where you can make the most impact. So if you are someone with that domain level experience and you know a business has repeatable tasks, by you being the one that could employ AI or automate some of these tasks, you can be kind of that force multiplier. So these are the roles that are, on the one hand, soon to be outsourced and soon to be taken over. But on the other opportunity side, you could be the one that provides that value to the business, to the company, to the domain, that you are the one that knows, hey, this task is a great candidate for automation. AI could enhance my workflow here, and I could be more productive in this role. So these entry level roles may shrink and may change in scope and require more AI skills to automate and speed up these routine tasks. But what that says, and what we discussed earlier, on the flip side, the human connections will continue to matter more. So job searching, if you're job searching now, everyone has heard the horror stories of, yes, AI resume review and how AI will read your resume now and disqualify you before you even see it. I've seen the stats on LinkedIn or on Reddit where someone applies to thousands of jobs to only make it through with like a 1% or less success rate to actually get seen and heard by a person. So what that also means is that human connections are going to matter even more in 2026. So you're right now, if you're in school, continue to make those connections with your fellow classmates, with your professors, through clubs, anyone that has any sort of connection to industry. Those are going to be more and more valuable to cut through the noise of this AI assisted resume review to kind of get to the real person, and other general human skills, conversely, or not maybe conversely, but just as an additional human skills are things that AI cannot replace. So qualities like leadership and communication are going to be even more important because you will be doing these menial tasks via AI, but you still need someone to communicate those tasks to senior leadership, to customers, to clients, to your other stakeholders in the business. So I think those skills will continue to be important. Not that STEM degrees are going away. Yes, computer science roles are less in demand right now, 2025, with a combination, of course, of the 2025 kind of economic climate as well as the AI proliferation. But so while technical skills may be on a slight decline, human skills like communication and leadership and will be more important for a role that people will be looking for. So this is your chance to get AI literate. So what we're talking about and how do we kind of bring this all together to get more actionable things is you should be getting comfortable, if you're not already, using at least one general purpose AI assistant. So whether that's ChatGPT, whether that's Google Gemini, whether that's Anthropic's Claude, whether it's Meta's Llama, you really need to get Microsoft Copilot. You really need to get familiar with at least one. They all are going to be semi the same. They're going to have slight different flavors because, as we talked about, they were trained on different data sets. But you need to understand how an AI works. And the best way to do that is just practice. So you need to be practicing your prompts. How does AI react when you ask it to do something? Can you ask it in different ways? Can you treat it as a junior employee and give it tasks and see how it responds? So you need to kind of learn the nuances of AI speak and what makes prompting successful, which to give you the shortcut, it's the way that the current models are trained is to infer a lot by your intentions. But the secret formula that I found is giving as much context as possible, as well as clear direction. And it takes some getting used to if you've never worked with an AI to talk to your chat assistant as a human and tell it, here's what I want you to do specifically. Whereas we may be used to Googling where it's short, pithy, one sentence searches. Whereas if you give it a little more context, a little more defined output of what you want, not just show me the best brand of toothpaste to buy. No, you could tell it to compare 3 toothpastes on different dimensions of price, cleanliness, and ratings. So by giving it clearly defined expectations of how it should respond back to you, these are good prompting techniques. And you can, of course, explore what good prompting means. But the best way to explore it is, yes, doing it. So use the free version of ChatGPT. Use the Google Gemini that's now built into Google Search. Use Microsoft Copilot as part of your everyday working when you use your Office or your Word. So use AI in your classes. So if you're a current student watching this that's, yes, about to graduate, use AI as a study partner. Ask it questions. There's a new study mode as part of OpenAI's ChatGPT. So try these features. Stay knowledgeable of advancements in the area and how you can work these into your workflow, whether that's your workflow on your job or your workflow is studying. Your job is to study. You need to be aware of what all these resources are. And when I say use AI at school, I'm also saying, of course, use it smartly. Don't ask AI to write your term paper for you. Everyone now has probably read AI slop. So we've seen articles or social media posts that are clearly AI. No one wants to read that. Your professors don't want to read that. Your work colleagues don't want to read that. So while AI can be a good partner, don't rely on AI 100%. Use it as a partner, a co-pilot, a co-worker that you can rely on. So you should always be verifying and critiquing any output from AI, whether that's on the job or in school. And then what skills? So in general, so yes, that's AI literacy is going to be great, but then what other skills in my domain should I be concerned about? So as we kind of mentioned, this need for domain knowledge and subject matter experts, I think that current area is going to be a depth plus breadth. So while what that means from whatever your domain is, so say it's healthcare, it's being abreast of a wide like T-shaped skills where you have a little bit of knowledge of various areas, but then you have deep industry knowledge in one specific domain. So this can be allow you to again work with your AI assistant and know a little bit about a lot of different problems in your domain, but then be that subject matter expert in one specific area so that you're aware of AI and what it's telling you and how you critique its output. So it's always, again, I think even stronger and even more important to build fundamentals in whatever field you're currently working in or you're looking to enter, whether it's finance, marketing, operations, human resources. Build that foundational knowledge of that area, the general techniques, the theories, the frameworks that are popular. Use AI to expand on this. So once you already understand the context, then you can just use AI to just enhance and be a force multiplier in your field. And then bringing this back to use an example to also customize this to where you live. So this is also a way to practice using AI because these are questions you can ask AI to do research on. So while yes, you could Google it, you can also ask AI to go out and be an agent and return some of this data so you can basically chat with your Google results. So using where I live, the New York City metro area, looking at where are the jobs. So in the New York City metro area, of course, New York City itself is financial services, marketing, business services. You have a lot of consulting, you have a lot of finance, you have a lot of marketing and media. So those are areas where AI is 100% being used to do analysis, to augment workers. All these big firms in New York City are using AI. So it is absolutely a requirement to know AI if you want those professional services sort of jobs. But then looking a bit further, yet yes, everyone knows working at a large corporation, a Fortune 10, Fortune 500 in New York City, you're probably going to have to know AI. But what about other industries? And just as an idea for someone who's watching this that's not in a major metropolitan area, that AI is absolutely being used in other areas like healthcare. Healthcare is a nationwide industry. It's big cities like New York also have their fair share of hospitals because it just scales with population, right? Every human needs healthcare, and AI is absolutely here to stay in healthcare, and it can be used in creative ways. While AI might not be the one operating on you yet, that might need takes more innovation in robots to do the actual operating on a patient. But AI absolutely will be doing things like summarizing notes. So while you take a doctor's notes. You may be the nurse assisting the doctor. It can help you summarize notes, summarize things to do, give you ideas for how to handle situations, help you with patient diagnosis by giving a list of known symptoms, because this is what we were doing before, right? We were just Googling symptoms, but by giving that additional context to a large language model that may be trained specifically for healthcare, this is a great use case for AI. And then there are also all the other side duties that are needed to power healthcare. Using healthcare as an example, healthcare, yes, you have the on the ground people like the nurses, the doctors, the people working directly with the patients, but then you also have medical billing, which is absolutely going to be using AI. You have customer service. You still have all the other business functions like marketing, accounting, and everything that makes a business run. Because yes, hospitals are businesses, healthcare is a business. And these are areas where you can use that domain knowledge of healthcare and augment it with AI knowledge and AI skills. Other industries that are, of course, these are maybe obvious ones to look at. You have energy and infrastructure that, yes, data centers are here. There is continued build out of data centers. So that is an opportunity, but it's more that's one that I wouldn't recommend. So I'm only saying this because we see that in the news, and I would be hesitant to like study to be a data center manager because while they are being built, if you've read the articles and seen the stats, they don't need a lot of people to maintain. So once it's built, and yes, it's maybe good for the construction workers that are building it. There's a lot of jobs out there to build infrastructure, namely the data centers themselves. But running the data center takes a lot less people than you may think. So it may not be something to look at long term. So don't get caught up too much in the hype. But I think there is still will be a need to maintain all these data centers, and it will be a burgeoning niche area to maintain facilities. And lastly, one area that we kind of touched on earlier that I think has opportunity, where we were talking about ways that you could find repeatable tasks, the things that AI are good at, and use that to implement with an AI to kind of be that force multiplier to take, yes, basically eliminate these entry level jobs. But small and medium sized businesses are probably underserved right now with AI. So, while a large part of this discussion was on kind of the corporate outlook and how AI adoption is going to be driven by large language models that are being adopted by corporations and put into all of our products like our Microsoft Word and Excel and PowerPoint, there are a lot of small and medium sized businesses. It is the largest sector of businesses in the United States. It's not all Fortune 500 companies, but these small mom and pop companies, which are again running on limited resources, are a great use case for AI. This allows these companies with small teams to do more, accomplish more, and augment their workflow. So, by having AI literacy and AI skills, I think there is opportunity to bring these skills to underserved areas like small and medium sized businesses that may not be using AI, and adding AI tools to their workflow could be a huge boon when you're operating with limited resources, limited people, limited capital to invest in some of the scale that the corporate large Fortune 500 companies are investing in. So, to wrap this up, what were the key takeaways that I feel my outlook for 2026 is that yes, AI is here to stay, and it will reshape but not erase most careers. So while the nature of the work may change, we are in this transition period as the world kind of adapts to using AI. That will continue. We'll continue to use AI more every day in our everyday lives. It'll become more ubiquitous. And what you can do to prepare for this is developing your domain expertise and your human skills, as well as becoming super familiar with AI tools. So you want to be the one that already understands how AI works. You want to be the one teaching others the best practices of what they can do with AI, how they can use AI in their jobs, because you're also that subject matter expert, that you understand the business that you work in or the business you want to enter as a new graduate. You understand marketing concepts and how AI could be applied to certain areas, and you understand the business that you're working in, and that, hey, maybe this could be augmented with AI. So, yes, start now, start using tools if you're not already. Build projects and just play around with AI, but also think long term. Do you want to be adaptable and keep learning, because these tools are going to be keep changing and the nature of the work is going to keep evolving as the floor rises with basic tasks being taken over by AI. So lastly, how we can also look at this from a framework that I found super helpful, which is for AI in your career, which is the Switchers framework by Don Graham. So this is a book that was recommended for me during my time at NYU in the Masters of Business Science and Business Analytics and AI program. So the Switchers framework is kind of what I kind of base this discussion on, where Don Graham, where she talks about to make a switch in your career, you can look at it from two ways. You can look at it from a industry and a function. So if you're currently in, for example, a company that does marketing, you can take that same function, such as creating ads, and do that in your current domain and do that same function somewhere else. So, using marketing in a hospital, if you understand how to market for a hospital, you could probably do marketing at a university. I'm just trying to think of something that's very similar. You can do the same job in a different industry. Then the second way to look at that is by the flip side. If you are in healthcare and you're currently in marketing, because you understand healthcare in general, you understand hospitals, you might be able to switch into human resources in your same hospital. So while the specific job doesn't change, so the industry stays the same, but the function changes, you could leverage your domain expertise of understanding customers, understanding people in the hospital. And you were doing marketing to reach new people. Now you could do HR to help existing people. That's maybe not the greatest analogy, but the two frameworks are that industry and function. So you can look at switching industries or switching function, but doing the double switch. So you work in marketing in a hospital, and now you're going to jump to accounting for a race car company. I don't know, like something. So a totally different domain, healthcare to automotive, and not just switching the function. So not even doing marketing anymore. Now you're going to do a totally different domain. So that big switch, like accounting is an easy one to do. You do accounting at one firm, you need to learn the domain, but you could probably do accounting at different type of industry. If you're doing accounting at consumer packaged goods, you could probably do accounting for a television, like a media company. The numbers are numbers that you destined, but you need to learn the domain for the new company. So that's kind of the frameworks, and you could use that for AI. So you could look at what skills do you currently have that could be augmented by AI, and then transfer those skills to a different domain. What skills do you need? And this is a way to practice with AI and prompt AI to how can I leverage my current role with AI tools? What could I automate? How could I level up to bring these tools to a different domain or enhance my current domain? And lastly, AI resume advice. So if you're graduating yourself, we talked about earlier, AI is absolutely being used by applicant tracking systems, ATS. Resume review is 100% being done by AI. And in this kind of AI resume arms race, if you're but a soon to graduate senior in college, or again, looking to switch careers by leveraging your existing skills, you should be using AI to review your resume, feeding it the job description, asking the AI agent, which you could be practicing and learning the best ways to prompt to analyze job descriptions, help you tailor your resume the real way, not making up roles, but using your existing resume as a base of what you currently know. How can your resume be tailored to fit the job description better so that you align when the AI ultimately reads your resume, better align with the job description? So definitely use AI to practice working with AI to analyze job descriptions. And lastly, AI career planning in general, kind of bringing this all together. If you are looking to work on your career, work backwards, but stay flexible. So you could pick a role in the future. So pick a dream role like a marketing manager in the health, in the beauty and wellness industry, like a makeup industry, and you could prompt AI. So given this role and maybe find the job description, what would I need to achieve that role in the future? Help me develop a career plan. So this can help you identify skills and gaps, just like a career coach. Not saying that career coaches aren't valuable, but this is just an exercise to make you think of what are some other ways I could use AI to get familiar and use AI in my career planning, because this is things you need to know about AI in 2026 for your career. Have you ever tried AI as a career coach? Have you prompted AI with dream jobs and asked it to help me work out a plan to work backwards? What are the skill gaps of what I currently have or my current role? What are some additional steps I could take to increase my knowledge, increase my resume, gain more experience to eventually transition to that role? So this is basically just saying, yes, use AI for tasks that you may not think at first. You may not know that, yes, you can ask AI to be a resume advice. You can ask AI to be a career coach. So use AI more in your career planning process. Don't be afraid to ask it questions and explore ideas that it may make these connections that you hadn't thought of, because AI, again, was trained on a large, almost infinite data set of other roles, other ideas, and it can help come up with connections to piece together your own career planning. So definitely use AI in your career planning. And that is my just general AI career advice and what you need to know for AI in 2026. So, what we covered, we looked at what AI was, aka how AI started with machine learning to deep learning, where we are now, which is the competition in AI frontier models, huge competition from Anthropic, Claude, OpenAI's ChatGPT, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, AI arms race at the moment in 2025, 2026. But where that is going to lead is eventually leaders will start to emerge. And thus, yes, how can we prepare for this new AI future? Because my prediction is, yes, that AI is going to just continue to be integrated. It's going to become an everyday tool, which will raise the floor of what you need to know to succeed in roles. That yes, entry level roles are absolutely going to be lowering as well as changing because AI will increase the average workload that someone could do. You won't need to do menial tasks anymore, these repetitive data intensive tasks that are easy to automate. So when that becomes the new baseline, that the expectation is that yes, you're going to use AI to do these tasks, but the work still needs to get done. So it's not that the role changes but doesn't get eliminated. It's additional responsibilities. The entry level is used to be just maybe data entry, but because the AI is going to solve 90% of that data entry, someone needs to be directing the AI. So the work still needs to get done, that maybe the data entry task, but then you also are going to need to provide values. While because AI is going to be doing 90% of that specific role, how can you add on and add value with your domain expertise, your subject matter expert, your wide knowledge of skills in your domain and industry area, so you know additional ways to provide value because these simple tasks are handled for you. So continue to learn your AI skills, increase your knowledge, and just stay flexible because while these are changing, they're not eliminating. So we need to work on AI. So what we need to do now is yes, we need to start using AI, learning about the latest models, learning about prompting, and practicing with AI, such as using AI for career planning, asking AI to be a career coach, using AI to analyze our resumes, and thinking of AI as a partner to use and a coworker. So learning good techniques like giving specific instructions with clear outcomes to practice how we get data and receive responses from AI. So I hope that was helpful to kind of give you a lay of the land, premonitions, but some predictions of where AI is going in the near term in 2026, as well as the medium term, next couple years, as well as the future, and just some practical tips that I think will be helpful for anyone watching this that is new to AI, that wants to get up to speed, that is maybe hesitant or hasn't explored it yet. But yes, I think it is definitely coming, and you need to learn AI now rather than later and continue to upskill. So do take this as a takeaway to start using AI now if you haven't already, and prepare for what this new world is going to look like where AI is part of our everyday lives. And hence that, yes, that was my joke. That is everyday because this is everyday data. So thank you for watching Everyday Data, which is soon to be Everyday AI, because AI is not going away. It is here to stay. So in your everyday life, use AI. So thanks for watching. And yes, Patricia will be back soon. So I'll have someone to riff off of and chat with. But I hope this solo episode was helpful. So happy holidays. Thanks for watching and have a great day. Have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.